Okay, guys. Mandalorian Chapter 13 has arrived. Uh, I'm gonna be completely honest. This is probably the first Mandalorian episode I wasn't as hot on, mostly just because it felt like it's something we've done before already. Um, we like the episode before was kind of similar with the infiltration into the Imperial ship, and here we're seeing again just like a small team infiltrating an Imperial base this time. Now, don't get me wrong, uh, some awesome stuff did happen towards the end of this episode, and some really big implications moving forward in the story, and also for the Star Wars universe as a whole. But just uh, on a basic narrative level, I wasn't as into this episode. We did still get some really good stuff. We got some good Baby Yoda action. I'm always there for that. It's kind of funny all these moments that we've had lately where he could have used the Force, like with fighting the Crate Dragon or when he gets swallowed by the whatever those things were, the big fish on the ship that the Quarrens had. He doesn't use the Force there to save himself, but he does use the Force to get some cookies, some space cookies, some space macaroons. And I mean, I get it. Baby Yoda's food driven. We saw it in season 1, and we're seeing it a lot more here. So it makes sense from that perspective, I guess. But like I said, narratively, it was a bit of the same, a bit samey compared to the episode before. But really, who's not here to see the Mando kick some butt? uh, Roll over some stormtroopers, blow up an Imperial base. That was cool. And that sound of the TIE fighters rolling in, I love that sound. Anytime I hear that TIE fighter sound, it just brings me back to when I was 8 years old watching the Star Wars trilogy for the first time. And we got that here. I love seeing the Razor Crest swoop in and save the day at the end there. It was really cool to see it kicking into high gear in full action. Um, and yeah, I guess the big story with this episode, there wasn't a whole lot that impacted the main narrative, really. Besides what happened at the end, the big reveal with all the Imperial experiments and why they were after Baby Yoda in the first place. And it seems like they might be trying to tie this into the Emperor's clones and how he will finally come back to life in The Rise of Skywalker. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that take. That's one possibility. It could just be that Moff Gideon's working on his own, towards his own ends. But it seems like a real possibility is that this might tie in a bit to the Emperor's return later in the sequel trilogy. Then there's also the other big reveal. We see the row of like robotic droid troopers, which look like dark troopers, which I don't know a whole lot about. I think they're in the Force Unleashed, and I think there's like a dark trooper nod or something in the Clone Wars. I don't know a whole lot about them, but that is another big reveal here as we get a bit of more of a inside look into what the Empire is doing in the immediate aftermath after the destruction of the second Death Star, and kind of ties in the whole issue of the First Order and where they came from, and how there was a bunch of different little remnants of Empire loyalists all over the galaxy, and they weren't all necessarily working together. So I will be interested to see if Moff Gideon is in fact working with the Emperor, or if he is working independently on his own project with the midichlorian Count beings, which is another thing. They finally acknowledged midichlorians again, but they called them M counts, but they're there, and I mean, it's part of canon now. It's kind of a weird, awkward part of canon, but it's got to be addressed. So it's cool to see them do it in an interesting way, and I'm excited to see where that thread goes as well in the future episodes. Which if I'm being completely honest, I hope they don't get too much into in the Mandalorian series, at least not right now. I really like that we're just getting to sit in the Mandalorian world and experience all these little different niches that exist. So honestly, I feel the more they stay away from all of the main movies, the better. Uh, I just feel like there's a lot of baggage with all the trilogies, and the less they get into that, the better. I like the stuff that they're tying in little tidbits here and there, and they're bringing in characters from the Clone Wars and we're finally getting to see them in action for the first time. That stuff I really like. I just feel like you're kind of stepping into a nest of hornets if you try and tie the Mandalorian too much into either the prequels or the original trilogy or the sequel trilogy, which chronologically would come after the Mandalorian ends. But on the whole, yeah, it's not like this was a bad episode. I don't think that you can have a bad Mandalorian episode. The formula it's right there, and Favreau's really been hitting it out of the park with the writing on all of these episodes. I think it's just, yeah, it felt a little samey, and at the end of the day, this is kind of just a space western. This is a lot about the Mando just rolling into town, getting the job done, moving on. Yeah, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it like the last few episodes from this season, but I'm still here, especially with the end. I can't wait to see what's going to come next. I really wasn't expecting to see Ahsoka this episode, just the way they've been writing things so far, first season and this season. I kind of figured there would be some sort of interruption before we get to her. And also Dave Filoni is directing the next episode of season 2, so it really makes sense for all the directors. Dave Filoni really should be the one to bring Ahsoka to live action for the first time. The Clone Wars really was. Dave was a huge part of of that show, so I feel like of all the creators they have involved in The Mandalorian, he's the one that should really be showcasing Ahsoka. And I just wonder. I don't even know what they're gonna do with her. Like, it's a wild card, right? Like, we've seen Boba, but they didn't really do anything with him. Bo seems like she's gonna have more to do this season, I would expect. So Ahsoka, she could be a cameo, or she could be it could be like last season where we meet her once and then she comes back at the end. And there's also the possibility that there's more than one Jedi. She might have other Jedi with her. At this point in the Star Wars canon, I believe this would take place just after the Ahsoka novel. I would have to double check that. But if it does take place after the Ahsoka novel, she would have been in hiding for a while and kind of disillusioned and just keeping a low profile. And so this might fill in some of the gaps between the Ahsoka novel and when she becomes Fulcrum and helps the Rebel Alliance early on in their existence. But if this is before the Ahsoka novel, then we will see maybe her last bit of action before she goes into sort of a self-imposed exile for a while in that book. Timeline's muddy, something I should have researched for this. But I didn't because I don't know. I guess I just expect you guys to come here and listen to me ramble and not have any research to back things up. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this episode. It's kind of a short video compared to my other ones. I am trying to keep them within the 10-minute range just because I know people don't want to hear me ramble for 20 minutes about Star Wars. If you've ever been with me at a party where I've been drinking too much, you know what that's like. And it's not a pleasant experience for anybody in the room except me. I love it, obviously. So with that said, I'll see you guys next week for another episode of The Mandalorian. And hopefully I'll be talking to you about the first live-action appearance of Ahsoka Tano. Snips. I can't wait. I'm sure you guys can't either. So in the meantime, leave a comment down below. Tell me how you're feeling about the season so far. Tell me if you agree or disagree with my take on this episode. And if you can, click that little subscribe button down there in the corner. It would really help me out as I try this whole YouTube thing out for the first time. Thank you guys. See you next week.